Did you know we have many wonderful events in the Lowcountry? What happens when you combine elite cars, amazing yachts, international films, and one of pro golfers' favorite tournaments all together? This episode of Coastal with Kathryn. Stay with us. Up first, we're going to stop by the Concours d'Elegance. Not only we get to see some fun red cars, the Ferrari, and also how much we love our McLarens, but we actually stopped by and spoke with head judge Paul Inario and his son Rob, who are both a wealth of knowledge. What's my favorite color? Red. How fast do I like to drive? Well, fast. What's my favorite car? Ferrari. Catch me if you can. Well, everyone, even the rain can't keep me away from being in a hot car. Who doesn't love this Ferrari? And I want to introduce you to Steve Sandler, who is the Director of Marketing here at Ferrari.
Yes.
And we are excited because I had a chance to meet with you yesterday. I'm going to take that because we still have a little rain going on here. Ferrari's working with an initiative for having women, bring them into the fold
Yes.
of auto cars. So tell me about that program and what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. We've now started this program that we call Pedal to the Metal, and we've had over 200 women in about 8 different events so far. And it's really all in an effort to make these supercars less intimidating. You know, there are thousands of very successful women out there that can purchase the Ferrari like this, and we want them to see that it's easy to do.
Absolutely. And you know, and I like that thought because oftentimes you think the car is a man's world, but every woman I know loves a nice looking car. This is Cindy SISSON, and who is part of this initiative for the women's program. Tell us a little bit about it.
What have you guys covered here?
We've covered the Foreign Cars Italia and Ferrari working with women and moved them from the right seat to the left seat.
Yeah, so we've had about 250 women since April in cities like Charlotte, Raleigh, Mooresville, Pinehurst, Nashville, test driving these amazing cars. They love them. They're actually buying them. Most of the time women feel they need to be invited. But we're having them show up and we're getting them really comfortable driving in the left seat.
This is sort of the Academy Awards of collector cars. With the art world, you have a traveling exhibition that may be on display at the Guggenheim or the Met. Cars are rolling sculpture, and this is a place where owners get to bring them out and put them amongst some of the best. So you'll see things here that you've never seen before, and I've been judging 20 years or so and going to car shows 40 years. There's still times I see stuff that I've never seen before and I'm blown away.
Really? So, I mean, what would that be? What would be one of the ones that you thought were surprising?
One of the neat things about this is there's different eras of the world. So in the brass era, 1914 or earlier, all of the cars the manufacturers were struggling just to make a car work, trying to figure out how to get something. And there were hundreds, if not thousands, of cars made, but very few of them were ever successful. Then you move on into 1915 to 1925, known as the Decade of Ugliness. You're getting cars that are mostly designed based upon function, but then they're starting to get a little creative with swooping windshields or curvaceous fenders and things like that. Then by the time you get to the Great Depression, that was the roaring 20s, you could go in and buy a custom built car designed the way you wanted it on a chassis that you bought and have it what's known as a one-off custom. And then with World War II and the Great Depression, a lot of those cars got lost over time. And then you get into the muscle car era where you can find this particular Corvette that's only one of the 1970 Corvette with a 427 and a 4-speed and air conditioning and the vinyl top. So there's different levels of being unique, but it comes down to which ones survived and which ones didn't. And a lot of times, you know, the cars that were too difficult to work on didn't survive. They got thrown into the scraps.
So as a judge, when you go and look at different classes, are you looking at, what do you look at? I mean, kicking the tires. I don't want to, you don't kick any tires, but what makes a car win and not win?
First and foremost, we look for accuracy. If it was, say, a 1928 Model A Ford and it had Phillips head screws, we'd be docking points for that because the Phillips head screw wasn't invented until 1932.
So it's authenticity.
So we look for authenticity. You generally don't get invited to one of these shows if you're not authentic overall, but there are the little hose clamps and screws and things that people may miss. Once you get to that, then you look at the quality of the restoration. Is there orange peel in the paint, little drips, specks? Is it quality paint job, quality chrome work, or could it have been done a little bit better? And then finally what we're looking at is the overall presentation of the car. What is the elegance or what is the present?
Hi everybody. Well, don't we love these cars? Look what I'm in. Beautiful, high performance. It's every guy's dream car. Actually, it's every girl's dream car too. Isn't it beautiful? I like the color. I want to introduce you to Kurt. Come on in and talk to me about the McLaren. These beautiful cars. I mean, you're here representing it for this show. Why are these cars so special? Why does everybody around here are just swarming?
There's so much to it. McLaren has always been a really, really special brand. And it has a long history of racing in virtually every racing series, being dominant in every racing series. And the newest cars, the one you're just in, is actually the GT. So this is a little bit different. This is going to be the most refined, the most comfortable, the most elegant, of course, is a perfect match. Still really high performance, but just a very different take specifically on GT. So it's going to be lightweight, innovative, very forward thinking rather than just reflecting the history of a GT car.
People come and bring their cars to show.
Right.
Tell us about the event and who comes and shows their cars.
Okay, well, the event now is in its 19th year. Would have been 20th except for COVID. The first thing, a car show is not a concours. A concours is an invitational. You have to be invited to bring a car. And just being invited makes you a winner already because you had a car that was elegant or done well enough to be invited, okay? Well, people won't bring multi-million-dollar cars for just anybody to judge them. They want judges that have built cars and shown them themselves, that understand the competitive part of it, that maybe have written articles, that maybe have achieved some level of recognition. So the baseline is this: if you want great cars, you have to have great judges.
Hi everybody, welcome to Coastal with Kathryn. I'm so excited for the show. Can you recognize this iconic clubhouse? Well, I'm in Harbor Town, and guess what's happening in a couple of weeks? We have the Heritage Golf Tournament, and we're so excited. So in today's show, we're not only going to learn about what's going on with the tournament, because actually we're opening up for 2022, which is exciting, but we're going to talk about the play of the course. They've done some changes in their tee boxes for the players. They always like to be challenged. They always want something new. So we're going to talk to Steve Wilmot, who is the tournament director for the golf tournament, and also we are going to meet John Farrell, who is the Director of Sports and Director of Golf here at the links, and they are such a wealth of knowledge that we're going to be excited. I'm excited because I want to see what's going on for 2022, so let's go find them.
Or the Wrigley Field or the Fenway Park of the PGA Tour, and there's an intimacy here where you can actually watch golf. It's so much more spectator friendly than a lot of places, and we travel and go to different events, and as a lot of people do, and there's something special about here where you feel like you're part of it instead of being on the outside looking in. You feel like you're right in the middle of it here.
Well, I'm delighted to introduce you to Steve Wilmot, who is the tournament director and also the president of the Heritage Foundation. And look everybody, look where we are. We have the beautiful harbor behind us, the Cowabungie Sound. This is a great place to be, Steve. This is your office.
It's not too bad, is it?
But, it is not too bad.
You know, this is the most iconic, one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic holes in golf, especially with the lighthouse behind us and all the Cowabungie Sound and the Harbor Town Marina. So it's pretty special.
You know what I love about it? It's also a lot of people bring their boats up, and they just They just moor their boats out here, anchor them, and they spend time enjoying the tournament.
Yeah, and actually it's one of those things that we look at every year too, is the tides, because we certainly like it when it's high tide so the boats can come in a little bit more, and it's prettier than low tide, but it's still a beautiful setting for a PGA Tour.
Well, as I stand in front of this iconic lighthouse, and you also can hear a little bit of noise, the machinery and the beeping behind us, because guess what's happening? The Heritage is arriving in 1 month's time, and I would like to introduce you to John Farrell, who is the Director of Sports here at Harbortown Links. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Kathryn. Thanks for having me.
So you've been part of the Heritage for nearly 30 years as well. So today we are going to talk about the course. They have done some modifications of the course.
Yeah.
And so since you are the Director of Golf and Director of Sports, he has full knowledge about what's going on. And I'm curious to know what sort of made this year different to have you decide to do some modifications.
Well, there's a lot of things different, unique to 2022. Right behind us is the new quarter deck that's going to open the first week of April, which is a magnificent new restaurant, full service, unbelievably beautiful structure. And it's the first time we've had a full field event as far as spectators are concerned since 2019. So we've been in a kind of a COVID-induced coma since 2019, and this year we're open back up to a full field of spectators, and we're going to have an international TV audience, and we've got the golf course in perfect condition, and we've made some modifications to the golf course just to add a little bit of yardage here and there, while at the same time protecting with a lot of enthusiasm the integrity of the design and the shot value. So it's really an exciting year. We couldn't be, I can't remember since I've been here a more exciting time, just because there's some pent-up excitement after the layoff from not having spectators.
I think so. It's got to be. John is going to take us, and we're going to grab Steve, and we're going to go and see some of the modifications they've done for the course. So let's stay with us. We're out and about. We have two gentlemen here. We're going to talk about what's going on with the new play for this season. This is tee box number 2. And what did you guys do?
Well, for 53 years we've played from right here at 506 yards. And Steve and I, as we always do at the end of a tournament, we have post-tournament analyses where we discuss things we're glad we did and things where we'll call them opportunities for improvement. And this past year we decided that we were going to try and add some yardage to a couple different spots that would not negatively, but rather enhance the integrity of the design and the shot values as they were intended to be by our golf course architect, Pete Dye. We're very careful about not doing anything that would jeopardize what Pete's original intentions were for the golf course. But number 2, after analyzing the ShotLink data, we discovered that we could add some yardage here and it would actually restore it to what it was originally intended to be. So that's what we accomplished here.
That's really interesting. I mean, what was his vision? Is there some sort of a description further you can tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So he was very, unfortunately he has since passed away, but before he passed, he made it very clear to us that to not add yardages to the shorter holes. They're intended to be short, and their green complexes are designed for a high-pitched, shorter iron to come into them, and the ones that are long were designed to have longer clubs come into them. So we've stayed loyal to that. We heard him, and we're going to remain committed to that. That was his intent. So that being said, hole 2, 500 yards for a par 5 for the tour players today.
It's nothing.
With the ball and the club and the athlete.
Is
When
that
Steve
like
and
a
I
par
first,
3?
yeah, it's very, very gettable, and the data shows that. So we paid attention to the data. So we've added 45 yards to hole number 2, which is going to play now more like what Pete originally had intended in 1969. So it's really not as much of it's more of a restoration than it is a modification, and it's really cool.
I love that idea.
And one thing that John's talking about there with regards to ShotLink. ShotLink is all the data, the information that our volunteers gather for the tour that you see on whether it's PGAtour.com or on television. And we get together afterwards with John Wright, the superintendent, and we look at distances and how it affects. So when we talk ShotLink, we look and analyze that every year, and it helps us from some things around the green from our build outside from the tournament as to what we can and can't do as well.
I always think there's a lot of math when it comes in golf, and I always wonder, and I didn't ask you this off camera, but there's got to be obviously statistics because you do go back and analyze it. But when they start creating the particular design of the course and where they put the sand traps, where they put the all the things that can go wrong, do they sort of say, well, 80% of the shots are here, so therefore we're going to put some sort of sand trap or something that's going to make it a little bit more challenging at that. Is that playing at
No,
all?
only because not in this case. It's a good question. However, because the integrity of the design and the shot values were established in Pete's head in 1969 with his wife Alice's help and with Jack Nicklaus's help, because Jack Nicklaus this was the first golf course he participated in the design of. So all those shot values that you speak to were already addressed a long time ago. So we're not changing anything that would change what their original intent was. And that, to tell you the truth, what Steve and I are well aware of is that's at the tour players' insistence. They have such a love affair with this golf tournament because they love the fact that we're not 7,600 yards with trickery. We're a classic, traditional golf course that they want. They are saying don't change. They're begging us really, don't change the integrity of the golf course.
It's a true shot maker's golf course. And you look over your shoulder, you're here right side. Number one, you sit here, you're left center, possibly your right center too. It's a true shot maker, and anybody can play here. And you look at our list of past champions, is the best of the best.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you say this is a true shot maker, because there are some clubs I just don't like. You know, and so it's you got to, you know, it teaches you have to know how to use your clubs appropriately, right?
Yeah, you have to. You'll hit every club in your bag here.
Well, let's keep going. Let's see what else is going on. Well, we cannot be at the tournament and be at Harbortown Golf Links without stopping by and seeing the Pete die. And John, you're going to share with us a little bit of the history, because there is. So let's go into the little museum. It's very sweet. So when you do visit, be sure to stop in. So John, you were telling us a little bit about his vision for the golf course. But as we look here, you can see they did a nice job curating his world in front of us.
So Pete felt very strongly that his notoriety was in part to his success here at Harbortown Golf Links. So when it became time for this type of recognition for his body of work to be done, he asked that we be the host site of it, which we were flattered by. He's got a great number of golf courses around the world of very big notoriety, but he wanted it to be here because he recognized what a significant role Harbortown Golf Links had in his career development.
This show is actually very near and dear to my heart. This is about a community coming together to support an important cause, and that's hospice care. And we'll have a moment to sit down and talk to the people of the organization, understand their services and what they provide to families. And also, this event is actually called the Yacht Hop. And what is that? Well, over there we have lots of beautiful yachts that have come into the marina here in Wexford. So let's go inside and check it out. Let's talk about hospice, because it is something that touches all of our lives at some point in time.
Hospice care is for someone who's facing the end of their life, someone that has a terminal illness and is at the last days, weeks, or months of their life. And hospice is not just about the patient, but very much about the family, the caregivers, and what's going on during this time.
Yeah, and one thing you did share with me before we went on camera was, you know, hospice care, it doesn't mean it's the last 3 days.
Correct.
And that's what we all think about that.
Right.
You know, it's fitting.
Right.
But it's the, how do you say, the adjusting of when you sort of know.
Right.
And you can work with the patient and their family for months at a time, correct?
Absolutely. Our goal is to have someone on at 6 months. Of course, we don't have that crystal ball and we don't know, but there's so much that we can do and get in place and help these families. One of our stigmas is it's 3 days and then someone passes, so it's always that scary type of thing. But if we bring someone on, we can get so many services in place. We can get medications, equipment, supplies, help with family dynamics, and sometimes financial things, and get those end-of-life documents in place, and we can assist these families on this journey.
We're really developing our palliative care program, and that's for patients who have not been diagnosed with less than 6 months to live, but have chronic conditions where they need a lot of help with symptom management. And their need is very great on the island, so we're hoping to really meet the needs of those patients and their families.
You know, that's really important to understand, because, you know, number one is that everybody's living longer. Our lifespan is longer. Our bodies start to break down at certain times, and yet we're not, you know, we're not in that fatal part in and our health decline, but there's a whole stage there that needs help. And just to have the services available to help navigate that person during that time, I think is extraordinary. And so I'm so happy to introduce you to James DISMOND, who's the Director of Development for the Hospice Care. Nice to see you here. What a great evening we have coming up ahead of us. And I know there's a lot people are talking. We've talked about health, we've talked about the programs, we've talked about the service, but let's talk about the event. So tonight we're having a sold out crowd.
Sold out.
And we have restaurants, we have yacht owners, we have even yachts been brought from us from where else? Where do they all travel from?
So we have yachts from South Florida. We have some international yachts that have come from like Barbados and places, but MarineMax has their entire fleet here. So we have 5 boats that are ready for purchase that can be driven out today.
We're talking about hospice, and you do have a personal story, and I think I would love to have share your story with us, because I think some people know it like I do and you do, but if they don't understand it, tell us how your story happened.
So my generation, I think hospice meant cancer, and it's not just cancer, it's end of life. And I learned that from a social worker when my father was passing.
I know. Yeah, you know, and it is an end of life, and what I have learned through the hospice, through mine too, it helps us, our family members, such as like you and I, and it helps us, you know, I don't know, how to take away the stress. I mean, there's so much stress that goes with it, regardless of the emotional part.
But the emotional part was so much easier for me to help them.
Yeah.
Because I had that support. And a simple phone call, I mean, it was just like nothing I ever expected. Nothing I ever expected. So then, when my mother was nearing her end of life, first thing I did, and it was a great thing.
It helped us understand the process, and we didn't understand how the patient was behaving at the moment in time.
Yeah.
What was going on at a certain time, and they would give us some insight, saying this is, you know, it's okay, rather than getting to this total panic mode.
And to help them, you know, as hard as it was for us, it was easier for us to help them, which was a gift.
It is a gift, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for such a big support of hospice care. It means a lot to me, you know, and everybody out there, you know, think about hospice and think about, you know, supporting your programs. And they call you Dr. Bob, I understand, affectionately.
They do, yes.
You know, delightful for sitting with me, because, you know, the hospice care, there's so many people that are part of it. But as being the medical director, you oversee the patient care and all the things, the details of how to make that patient comfortable.
Yes. And the nurses and I work as a team. And actually, hospice was started by nurses.
Was it?
Yes. It's only recently that physicians were added to the program as a requirement of Medicare. And so I try to remember that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a guest in the program. So I take care of the narcotics and approve all the treatment plans and make suggestions when needed. But it's really a nursing thing. So they're the ones that are the heart and soul of hospice.
Well, I think it's one big heart with a lot of people that all kind of pump it. That's my vision of it.
Well, my vision is it's like the old-fashioned wagon wheel.
Ah.
You have the rim, and for the rim to go smoothly over the road, it needs spokes. And each spoke has to be just as strong as the next one, or the wheel gets out of kilter. So I'm one of the spokes, the nurses are a spoke, the social workers, the chaplain, the pet therapy, the music therapy, and the administrative staff are all part of this wheel. Yes. And the hub of the wheel, of course, is the patient.
Right.
And what makes the hub from squeaking? Love.
Well, this week, the City of Beaufort is hosting the Beaufort International Film Festival, and they are celebrating their sweet 16th anniversary. So when we think of film festivals, we normally think of Telluride, the Cannes, Sundance, Tribeca, but I have to tell you, Beaufort has now been listed on the top 100 film festivals for the world. So we want to say congratulations to them. And I'm so excited, we finally made it here to Tabby Place, and I'm going to introduce you to Ron Tucker. He is the manager of the Beaufort International Film Festival. And I am delighted to see you. And right here, we're going to go inside in a minute and take a look at what's happening, because there is going to be a celebration for the next 6 days.
Absolutely. And this is the kickoff. This was started the big week that we have, and it all wraps on Sunday night.
I just found out you have now been included in the top 100 list for international festivals. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
We have 100 filmmakers coming in.
We have 100 filmmakers coming in, and we have 15 world premieres. And we have people from 5 countries, filmmakers from 5 countries coming. So we're really excited. A lot of them will be here tonight.
Well, I'm excited for tonight. Shall we start?
Me too. Yes, still.
Thank you. Come on in. Look at this evening. The flags are up, feeling very international just before everybody arrives.
Filmmakers and participants from all over the world come into little old Beaufort to celebrate cinema, to celebrate film. As a film buff myself, it allows you to see through other people's eyes, to see how other folks live across the world, and so to be able to bring that kind of energy and excitement right here to Beaufort is just so exciting. And so we're kicking it off tonight.
They have created a film called Reopening, and it sounds like a really fun thing, and we call that not a documentary, we call it a
mockumentary. That feeling is based on a short story by Stephen King, and he does a program for independent and student filmmakers where you can buy the rights to one of his short stories for $1.
And also I want to say you wrote, produced the show, or the movie, and what else?
Wrote and directed and produced.
Wow, you're a very talented lady.
Thank you so much.
The story is inspired by my husband's experience as a young teen sent out of Cuba on the eve of the Bay of Pigs to retrieve smuggled family jewels.
I wanted to stop you because, number one, he's a veteran filmmaker. In fact, one of his films was up for an Academy Award, and the name of that film was?
Hoop Dreams. And we lost to Forrest Gump, which is a very famous film in this area.
And so as being a ghost, how do you play a ghost?
Well, not very different. I just look terrible at it, that's all. They kind of made me look, I like to call it the Beetlejuice of my career, you know.
This is kind of paradise to me, and I love the atmosphere here, I love the community, and yeah, hopefully I get to stay.
Thanks, James.
Okay.
So American Royalty is chronicling 100 years of the Miss America pageant. And so we break it into 5 different episodes, and today we had episode 1, which is about Atlantic City swimsuit, and we interviewed 30 former Miss Americas to be a part of it, and they just tell the history of Miss America through it.
So our story is called The Long Rider. It's a featured doc. It's the story of Felipe Leite, and he's in 2012, Felipe has to leave his adoptive home of Canada, and to get back home to his family in Brazil, rides a horse from Calgary to Brazil.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Coastal with Kathryn. We love bringing these events to you and being out in the Lowcountry. If you don't want to miss any of our episodes, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, thanks for joining me.